right, so we're faced here in Oceanside about ever shrinking portfolio of farmland. I mean, man, that breaks my heart. That's certainly would seems like it might be a county-wide, an issue under your purview as a county supervisor. Any thoughts on that?
I am passionate about preserving our farmland and keeping our farmers in business. They're the backbone of our economy for over a century here in North County. That's why so much of our area, used to be farmland, and unfortunately, we've lost a lot of it. But we still have plenty of great farms out there, still producing world-renowned crops. We have some of the best weather, obviously, and some of the best soil, and that shouldn't be thrown away. We need more, I think, density instead of just sprawl. There's a balanced approach again to that kind of thing. And when I was on the Planning Commission, I did fight against projects that were pushing more out into our hinterland that didn't have the infrastructure to support them, and that were going over prime farmland. So I bring a similar approach to the county. We've got a lot of great avocado groves, citrus, cut flowers, tomatoes here in North County, and I want those businesses to thrive and continue providing, like I said, world-class products from right here in North County.
All right, and something that impacts us all is the train tracks run through all of coastal North County. Boy, I guess that is a regional question.
Correct.
And the county has a big say in Sandag, right? Which is
Yes.
The major agency, I guess, to deal with that.
Yeah, the long-term planning agency, correct.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our rail corridor, the low sand coaster rail corridor along the coast, is a backbone for folks. I know a lot of people commute on it, but also, a lot of us take it on the weekends or to a Padres game, to avoid the traffic on the 5, right? And so that's important, but it's also, I think, underappreciated how much freight traffic goes along there. And I'm not, fighting for the freight companies, but there's certain freight that only goes into San Diego Port because it doesn't fit in the large container ships, the large containers that come into LA Long Beach, and that can only be transported on that rail line. So that's really important for our local economy as well. And most importantly of all, is that is part of the Strategic Defense Network by the Defense Department has identified to be able to move troops and equipment from bases like Camp Pendleton to ports when they need to be deployed. And so if we don't have that rail corridor, we're actually going to be really in trouble for our military's readiness as well. So as I've worked with Congressman Levin, we've been able to secure hundreds of millions of dollars to strengthen and create a more resilient rail corridor. And that's just that coaster one, right? The low sand. But we also have the Sprinter, which is a very important part for District 5. I think it's underutilized right now, but there's a lot of movement to try to make it more frequent and try to double track and make it more convenient so it's not blocking intersections at grade and things like that, because obviously we all have been stopped at those before and it's a little frustrating. But that's definitely another way to be able to integrate North County together is the Sprinter. And so I think, we need all the transportation options. We need to make sure that our roads are working and efficient, but we also need our transit to be world-class as well.
Okay, great. Where should the tunnel go?
That's for the communities down there to
Okay.
to work on together and to figure out through a deliberative process.
All right, Kyle, one of the things you mentioned at your launch event, I guess Saturday, we have to deal with high utility rates. Mm-hmm. What could you as a county supervisor or as a body of county, what could the county supervisors do as a body to counter these high utility rates?
Yeah, San Diego unfortunately suffers from some of the highest utility rates in the country. And it's not just utility rates, obviously our water rates. There's so many aspects that are really squeezing folks. But the county can have a role there. Obviously, the county has a lot of properties, first of all, that it can invest energy projects in. But we need an all of the above approach to our energy solutions. And right now we've transitioned in a lot of communities to community choice power, where it's almost municipal run electricity. SDG&E still owning the wires and the poles, and that's a good way for us to be able to control costs in the long run. That kind of cost curve takes a while to bend, just because a lot of these electricity production contracts are long-term. They're decade out and things like that, from what I understand. I'm not an expert, but that's what I've been told. And so it's over time, the county being one of those community choice partners to be able to push to make sure that we have more affordable options for our consumers, for our constituents going forward.
All right, Kyle, final question. You mentioned at your kickoff there are 1.2 million Medi-Cal recipients who are going to be they're going to be kicked off of of the Medi-Cal rolls. What do we do about that? Where does the money come from?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but both between folks who are on Medi-Cal, with Medicaid nationally, but we call it Medi-Cal here, as well as folks who are get their health care through the Affordable Care Act covered California, and have their subsidies, their tax credits through that help them afford their health care. All of those have just been gutted by this Republican budget bill that recently passed the Trump administration, and it's scary. It's I think my boss called it a 5-alarm fire, an impending 5-alarm fire yesterday. It really is bad. Like I said, I was talking to Dr. Ma from Tri-City, as well as some of our other local healthcare providers. And, there's definitely a sense of impending doom, unfortunately. We're probably going to lose hospitals. And we already have a problem with the access to healthcare here. So the county plays a big role in this. The county has a large healthcare budget. And a lot of that is pass-through money. Some of it that, is at risk as well. And so the county is going to need to step up and fill in that gap. We need to, unfortunately, under the current national government, the federal government, our county is going to have to be the one to step into the breach for our communities, to protect our communities, both at the healthcare level, immigration, et cetera. And, I think that's going to be something that we have to challenge ourselves to find creative solutions to, and figure out the right size of the county government, and figure out if there's places where we can efficiently do the same thing that we were doing before. And that's going to be the challenge I look forward to facing on the board.
Very cool. Kyle Krahel, how do people reach out to you?
We have a great website. It's kylekrahel.com, KYLEKRAHEL.com. And right at the top, you can click to volunteer or contribute, and you can click on any one of our social media channels so you can follow us throughout the campaign.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Big Buccaneer channel. That is Kyle Krahel running for District 5 County Board of Supervisors.